Hello everyone and welcome to this new pick a card reading. For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Ellie and it's a pleasure to have you with me today. And for the rest of you who already know me, you know that I'm really into deep self-work and self-study, self-exploration as a key to self-empowerment. And in honor to bring this channel into the spooky season, into the energies of fall, I really wanted to start with a past life reading first, because as some of you may already know, as the veil is getting to its thinnest, as we are getting closer to October 21st, this is the perfect timing to dive into stuff like spirit work, shadow work, karmic work, and deep soul exploration. So I really felt pushed by my spirit team to start this season with a past life reading first, and I have to tell you that I really needed to take my time to prepare for this in meditation and prepare myself to enter the right sort of mood energetically and in my mindset. So this reading might already feel very different, you're going to see, than my other readings, and that's because most of the messages that you are going to get here today are pretty much channel messages, you guys. So yes, I read a card. I have a very good knowledge of the cards. I've been studying their meanings, their symbols, and their history for the last 8 years of my life. But I read the cards mainly intuitively as well, in parallel with the understanding that I have of their meanings. So I don't want to spoil anything for you already today, but I am in a habit of filming the intros of my videos last after doing all of the readings. So I know already what this is going to speak about, and I really want to give you just a slight hint here to really take your time to connect with each pile and choose the one that you really feel drawn to, because each and every one of them were very, very unique in their energy, to say the least. Some of them had some very intense messages that I didn't expect to see at all. So I was just pleasantly surprised. So in this reading, we're going to tap into past life energy. So I'm going to connect to the energy of the person that you were in a past life and sort of what marked you on a soul level back from this past incarnation. And I know that you had many, so today is just going to be one of those. So that's something to take into consideration. So I'm going to connect with the energy of the person that you were in one of your incarnation and how this specific incarnation marked you as a soul through especially your past life biggest achievements. So that's what I'm going to really concentrate on today. So I'm not going to tap so much into the personality that you had. So note that this is not going to be the only past life reading on my channel. There are probably going to be many. I almost felt interested to start a mini series, to be honest with you, about this topic, because I find past lives to be so interesting and so insightful. So in future videos, I might concentrate more on the karmic aspect or into your career life, your love life, your name it, the name of your dog, your relationship with your hamster. But today specifically, I prefer to toss sort of this part of the topic aside, because I already judge that there are already plenty of videos out there on YouTube about this subject, about sort of the appearance that you had or the personality that you had. But it's just that for me personally, I'm going to evaluate if I feel good about doing that eventually, just not right now. It's just that personally, I never really connected to that for when it comes to past life regression, because I don't know how a gender or an appearance or a personality can help your current incarnation, to be honest. Like, I don't know what it really changes to my present, if in a past life I was a man, a woman, or whatever the hell, what sort of temper or ego that I had. I don't know how that can serve me to grow right now. So that is why this is not really the biggest concern for me today to do with you in this reading specifically. I prefer to dive beyond the surface of that and go a little bit deeper into the psyche and kind of like the soul imprint of who you are, because here on my channel you will soon discover that we don't do surface layer tarot. We don't do surface tarot in here. So I'm not going to touch to things like your personality, your ethnicity, your gender. That belongs to you. I'm reading for too many people at the same time right here, and I really want this reading to be of best service to you guys and to be as detailed and specific that I can get for in terms of a general reading like that. So this is why I'm mainly going to read soul imprints today, and soul related energies. This is really what I'm more concerned about. How basically your past incarnations made you into the you that you are today. So if you want to skip this intro, that is perfectly fine. The timestamps are already down below if you want to skip ahead and go check out the pals. But I really felt to just take this time with you to explain the energies of this reading and my intent behind it first, because I think that it's so important to get to know your reader, you guys, and to get to know the person behind the camera that is offering you their energy, to see if you connect with them, if we jazz together. And I'm sure that we will, because I love people. I'm so glad that you are here. But basically, it won't come as a surprise to you by now, or at least I hope so, that the fact that I believe in past lives. And you guys, I'm not here to convince anyone or to lose my energy on trying to explain why I believe in that. It's just been the case since I was a little child. And that's related to my own personal experiences and my own spiritual sort of understanding through the personal experiences that I've made in my life. And we all have beliefs, okay? Even people that don't believe in anything, that people that think that we rot in the ground after we die, this is a belief, you guys, okay? So nobody know for sure, but I know that according to my experience, this theory makes the most sense to me. And I really felt the need to sort of clear the air about that today, because I know that I have a lot of friends that watch my videos, and so I felt a bit hesitant about going in the topic of past life so soon on my channel, mainly because I have to say that in my personal life, you guys, I'm kind of private about my spiritual beliefs and about my spiritual practices. So I didn't want this to feel like too much of a shock of like, oh my God, Ellie, you believe in this kind of stuff? Yes, I do. You know, we maybe never really spoke about it, but you know, if you do believe in that too, then I mean, that's a plus. We're going to talk about it the next time I see you then. So yeah, I am into that, always was, and I'm not ashamed of that. So I felt really still guided to do this reading for you today, because I know how much there are some such valuable and juicy insights to be found in things like past life regression work. Because by understanding your past better, and now I'm leaving the topic of even past lives, okay, you guys, just by understanding your past better, you can come to a bigger level of empathy and compassion for yourself, better understanding of where you come from. And not only that, but then because by evaluating your past, you can better see where you're going and your future then, and seize your destiny by the balls, basically. So many times when we carry energies from our past, whether that be a recent past or childhood, or even things like way back then, past lives, it taints our view of our present, and therefore it taints our view of the future if we don't get consciously aware of that. But in order to break out from these unconscious patterns, the best weapon or tool for that is our awareness. So hopefully that is what this reading will be for you today. So if you're ready, let's take you to my altar right behind me, and I'm going to present to you the pals that I have for you today. Hello everyone, and welcome to the pal selection. So before I start, let me just say a very important disclaimer. Please know that this is a general reading that simply cannot resonate with everybody, but that was crafted to resonate with the people that it is meant to reach. So this being said, there is probably a message that is meant for you in one of those pals, and maybe that you will be able to come out with something out of them that is positive nonetheless. So please also just know that I'm just a human being, endowed with an ego too, and my interpretations, although they are coming from the best of places for you today, you guys, they're coming from my heart to yours. They are still not the absolute, all right? So only take in from those pals what resonates and leave behind the rest, and I won't be offended by that. So this being said, this is pal 1, this is pal 2, this is pal 3, and this is pal 4. For pal 1, because I have different sets of pictures for you to choose from for you today, guys, because I thought that it would be fun. But I guess just go with your intuition. These are very random, and I just felt drawn to them. So for pal 1, we have this set of characters. Then after that, this is for pal 2. We have this set of characters. So feel free to really pause the video and take the time to look at each and every one of them, you guys. And if there is something that draws you in, then perhaps that this is your answer right there. Look at this. I'm doing some cute collages for you all today. I hope that you appreciate my art. So now for pile 3, we have this set of characters. So this is pile 3. Then finally for pile 4, we have this set right over here. And isn't this picture wholesome? I just simply love it. Little kitty in his beard. I really love that image. I could not put it. So this is the set for pile 4. Alright, so if everyone is ready, I'm going to launch the 30-second meditation for you guys to really tune in with the energies of each pile and choose the one that you resonate the most with. So if you're ready for the meditation, please find a comfortable position where you can relax, and you can keep your eyes open, of course, because you will have to choose the pile that speaks the most to you. So if you're ready, let's call in the spirits of the sacred space and let's start. Hello everybody, and welcome to your reading. If you have chosen pile 1, this is going to be your reading about your past life, one of your past lives, I must say, because most likely you've had many. So to make things a little bit lighter for you today, I've decided to really divide this reading into 2 sections. So I'm going to start with those 3 cards over there, and that will sort of show me the general energies of who you were in this past life that we're going to revisit together today, and sort of the undertone or the principal theme of this past life. And after that, I'm going to reveal the rest of the cards and get into more details for that with you. So if you're ready, let's see what your few first cards are. So we have the Ace of Cups reversed, then next up we have, that is the 7 of Coins reversed as well. Interesting. Then after that we have the Lovers. So pile 1, 2 things. First, I'm receiving here that for some of you who are in a relationship with a divine counterpart right now, a lot of you have met this person in this past life. And for others of you, there is a divine counterpart that you will retrieve in your current life with this Ace of Cups reversed, and that you have met for the first time in this past life. That came through like a very strong hit to me. I needed to really get this out of the way first. But second, I'm really not trying to freak anyone out, but I'm having some questions for you right now. And those questions might probably only feel right or ring something deep within you if this pile is the right match for you, because this is absolutely specific. But I need to get this out here because I know that I will sort of regret it if I don't say it, and if I can only help but just one of you guys, then this is why I'm here on YouTube for. And I guess that you guys being on this past life pick a card reading today probably means that you're already open to those kinds of stuff anyway, or at least I hope so. But pile 1, have you ever encountered a spirit or had some paranormal-like experiences in your life where something very sort of supernatural happened and you could not really explain it or make sense of it? Have you ever had a deceased loved one visit you, even if it was just in one of your dreams? Have you ever seen, felt, heard a presence somewhere around you? It's not that some of you are necessarily experiencing that every day, I don't think, but it could have happened recurrently a couple of times in your life. Have you had an extrasensorial experience where you have been visited by a presence? And I'm hearing to my ear right now that for some of you, this could have been occurring during some sort of sleep paralysis episode where maybe you felt or seen a presence. But for some of you, though, I hear that this was a psychedelic experience where you have seen or felt the presence of a loved one, of your guides, or of something else, like another entity. And I know how this sounds, but I have to say it, you guys, I feel that this reading is speaking of this ability that you used to have in this past life and that you have sort of carried over to some degree into your present life, or that you will be reintroduced to at some point in your current life. And this gift in your current life may have been buried into your subconscious for a while until some of you will come to be exposed to some sort of experience that will trigger it back into your consciousness again. And for some of you, let me just say that this gift could have been triggered already in the past by perhaps a childhood trauma possibly, or by an accident that you had, or it will be triggered open again in the future. And as you come closer to death, or to your sense of spirituality in one way or another, maybe through an event such as, and wait, this is probably for just one person out of you out there, but such as a near-death experience, for instance, such as you taking an interest into these types of stuff as well, or such as a psychedelic experience like I have mentioned. And I don't want to traumatize anyone here with psychedelics, okay? Because I'm not here to parent you at all, or it's not to say that I promote that or that I'm against it. No, gosh. I've taken psychedelics before, you guys, and don't worry, you're not going to necessarily have to experience any of that. But at the same time, just be careful with that if you do that. Okay, if you plan on experimenting, I'm all for that always, but just make sure that you're in the right setting with people that you can trust, and that this is really something that you want to do and not out of social pressure, and that you're prepared and in the right mental space. All right, you guys, so this is Mama Ili speaking to you right now because I care about you. But changing the subject, for some of you, I know this sounds goofy, but it could have been an experience that you are having while on substances or something of the sort, while your mind is being altered and while your creative mind, the seat of your abstract thoughts, is very active. For others of you, this could come from an experimenting death near you for the first time. So as someone extremely close to you passed away maybe, or like I've mentioned, through your dreams. I'm saying that because with this Ace of Cups reversed, I immediately felt that this was an energy that you have carried over, or that you share to some degree with your past self. Your past self wants to let me know that you carried over some of the remains or pieces of this gift that was given to you in this past life for that specific incarnation over into your current incarnation right now. And to sort of explain that to you better, basically, I'm someone that definitely believes that there are gifts, talents, and skills that we have, that we will discover, tap into, and develop in this current incarnation, of course. But then there are those other gifts, some that will be handed to us by the divine, the Most High, or whatever you want to call it really, for our specific purpose in this incarnation. Some of those gifts are gifted by our spirit team and our ancestors, but then there are also those other gifts that we have worked on developing in past lives. And this is what I'm receiving with this Ace of Cups reverse. You will be reintroduced to this gift at some point of your life, to some form, shape, or degree. And that's a gift that your reality, it's sort of evolved around in this past life, as I see it. So your past self had this gift that made them and their life very different and unconventional. In this past life, I see that you were born with a door open, or some of that veil partially lifted. And with this card being reversed, I am even seeing that you try to reject this gift for a while. Maybe because it opened the door to a reality that you could not fully understand at some point, which is normal because us humans, we tend to be very afraid of what we don't understand or cannot make any logical sense of. And the image that the Seven of Pentacles is giving me actually here is like a grave being dug up. If some of you have ever seen the image, the traditional image of the Seven of Pentacles in the Tarot Rider-Waite-Smith deck, then you will notice that the scene that it depicts is a man standing over what he has planted, sort of leaning on his shovel. But as soon as this card came out reversed somehow, I had the image of you trying to bury something in this past life, of what you have tried to hide, to muffle, to suppress, or to drown. The grave kept being dug up, or it's like the sea kept bringing it back to the shore, like this door that always remained open for you to this other realm or this other world, sort of. It's like you couldn't get rid of it or unsee what you saw or unlearn what you had learned after those experiences in your past life. No matter how hard you tried to shut that door for a while, it was a part of you. So this is very interesting here, because I'm seeing that who you were was this spiritual gift, Pawan. It sort of became a part of your identity, that you could not hide from nor try to suppress. And look, we have the card of the Lovers here, which the Lovers speaks of two counterparts coming together and merging themselves with each other, or embracing each other. So I feel that not only did you possibly had a divine counterpart in this past life, but you also came to accept this gift that you had, and that opened this door for you to this other world. So this is weird. This is sort of a Eden Warren type of past life that I'm almost seeing here. And I'm not necessarily saying that this was a type of life that you had, but that's what it instantly made me think of. So this is very interesting because it's not much your personality traits that I'm seeing here with your cards, but your soul traits, which was what you were learning about in this past life. It was a life where you learned to embrace that, basically, to embrace this part of you that you have tried to reject at some point in time. So this feels like very shadow worky to me, almost. So some of you today could have some strong abilities that you have been introduced to in that past life, actually. But that's really what I'm getting here, that you were blessed with this sort of gift in this life, but you almost wanted to curse it for a while. You had to make peace with it in a way. So let's get into more details now, because I'm really curious to know what is that story all about? What is this gift all about? So the next cards that we have for you here, we have Wisdom, we have Centering, then we have Faith. Yeah. Oh, this card resonates deep somehow. What else do we have here? The Nine of Swords. Okay. Oh, the Sun reversed. And finally the Devil. What the hell? So that makes a lot of sense now. All of a sudden, I flip those cards and boom, everything goes dark. So part 1, let me cut to the chase. There is a reason why a lot of you are drawn towards things like pick a card readings, the occult, the paranormal, and stuff like that. You could definitely be the type of person that loves to hear about unsolved mysteries, things like true crimes, ghost hunting reality shows, maybe even things about aliens. Some of you have been genuinely interested in the darker side of life and of your faith, or of your spiritual practice. And by darker side, I don't mean that you are an evil person. No. What I mean by exploring the dark side is that is what you or science at the time could not explain. Things that people were uncomfortable or scared to look at. See, you are someone that was trained and designed in this past life to go face to face with that devil over there. And that makes me think of that movie, you know, about Tenacious D, The Pick of Destiny. I love Jack Black. But going back on a serious note here, you are someone that I see confronted their own demons in this past life, part 1, and confronted deeply rooted collective fears with this 9 of Swords. The things that you liked or were drawn to in this past life were very misunderstood, and that's because this life happened in a different era and time where those stuff were pretty much still evilized or considered almost blasphemous in a sense with this card of the devil. Most likely because the cultural background that you grew up in and your religious upbringing at the time. But hey, even today these things are still marginalized and very taboo to speak about. But in this past life, let me just say that a lot of people mysticize you or deeply misunderstood you. And that's because your job was very, very dirty job. Your job was to combat and go face to face with the heavier, darker things in life, to encounter heavier, darker, denser energies. It was to face the darker forces of life, whether that be spiritually, so through your spiritual practice and faith, or psychologically as well is a possibility because we have the 9 of Swords here. So I feel that this gift that you had was one of being able to tap into the other side. And it makes all sense now why I saw that you sort of try to reject it or hide it or sort of ignore it for a while. Why I saw this image of a dug up grave analogy. Some of you went into close contact with the dead, or this gift made you question yourself with life on the other side. For some of you, this gift was so real and it was scaring the shit out of you sometimes with its 9 of Swords. For others of you, that's because this role, being hand-selected by the divine to carry such a task, seemed difficult. And for others of you, this was something that you sort of kept hidden in your private life because you knew that it wouldn't be received so well into the outside world if you were to be very open and outgoing about it. I have to put some sort of disclaimer here because I know that there are a lot of people in the spiritual community out there who absolutely don't believe in that these things even exist. Things like darker or heavier forces of energy, what people sometimes call negative entities. And although I completely respect those people, I still don't personally agree with them. I definitely do believe that evil exists. After all of the paranormal experiences that I had, some very positive, some a bit more negative, and that might be a story for another video for you guys, but I definitely do believe that energy is far more complex than sometimes we admit it to be, and that we can understand or that we are willing to address sometimes. But if humans can act in very evil ways, then why not energy, which is far more complex than a being bound by flesh can certainly be. But hey, that is just my opinion here according to my own personal experience, you guys. And I understand that all of these things related to spirituality, they really need to be personally interpreted because the paranormal is still a science yet to be understood, and so we can't just really go out there and assume that we know everything, but we can draw a personal understanding from personal experience, and that's all right. People sometimes come to me and ask me, but what if I'm not sure that what I believe in is real? And I like to answer, that's why it's called a belief. And we all have beliefs. right? Even people who don't believe in anything, that's a belief, you guys, and I just cut you right there. But there is such a thing as an objective truth out there, and a personal truth, you guys. And when it comes to anything spiritual, that belongs to the realm of personal truth. But that does not mean that it's still not real. Because we have no tangible, for sure proof, doesn't mean that it's not real, or that there isn't some form of deeper explanation to find out there. Assuming the contrary is what is dangerous to me. Close-mindedness is what is dangerous. And it's not a question of dark versus light here, because I'm really not into that. I don't believe that dark necessarily means bad and that light necessarily means good. To me, it's a spectrum, kind of like a radio, right? Picking up on all these different channels. So there are higher frequency energies, there are lower frequency energies, but then there is also everything in the middle and in between of that. So it's not just all black or white. There are many shades of gray to that too. And I don't know why, but I really felt the need to explain that to you guys, so that you don't fear these things, but that on the contrary, you get a bit more curious about them, to open you up to them and to get you interested into getting your own understandings of them through your own personal experiences. But coming back to your reading in this past life, Pawan, I see you being exposed here to the heavier, darker, and scarier things of life and of spirituality, most especially for you because of this card of faith, centering, and wisdom over here. I feel that those experiences that you were confronted by really shape your understanding of your reality and of life after death somehow, or of human behavior. And this life was spent exploring, studying, and diving into these things to better understand the meaning of life, death, and what your role as a human being was in all of that show. Kind of like a parapsychologist, which for those of you who don't know what that is, this is the study of psychic and paranormal phenomenon. So some of you may have been drawn to the occult in this past life, and most likely in this one that you're living to, which occult, by the way, simply means the study of supernatural and mystical practices and phenomenons. Some of you may have been initiated to a very different set of beliefs outside of mainstream religion, with both this kind of faith and also the devil. For others of you, you could have been drawn towards things like demonology or exorcism, even studying demons and their properties so that you can know how to deal with them and cleanse people's homes from them, or help people better equip themselves to face these types of forces. Some of you may have been considered witches, soothsayers, psychics, or mediums. Some of you in this past life could have been more on the scientific side of that, let me just say, with this Nine of Swords though, because I also see that you were someone that really dived into the scientific side of what you were doing too. That's the thing, you were really much a realist in this past life, interestingly enough. Some of you could have really been interested into studying paranormal like phenomenon, like I've mentioned, and maybe that you have made that your life's work in this past life, that you became some sort of researcher on that, like a ghost hunter or something of the sort. And let me just say that I'm fascinated here, you guys. I'm completely fascinated. Like, what a life. But it wasn't so glamorous, however. That is what I want you to understand. This work was extremely demanding on your energy, with the Sun card being reversed, and extremely challenging for your mental state with this Nine of Swords next to the Sun card. This life had you go through many experiences and life lessons that were all concentrated around your gifts or your talent, skill, or interest that you had with this kind of centering. So me saying earlier that I have gotten the image of this Ed and Lauren Warren lifestyle wasn't that wrong after all. But that's the thing. I feel that in this life, you were someone extremely pure of intent with this Ace of Cups, Pawan. And this gift is one that you never chose. It chose you. It's not like you could unwind the tape, unlearn or unsee what you had witnessed. It's just a reality that you had to deal with back then. And that's because that was tied to your mission in this particular past life. But through accepting this skill or gift, you could bring a lot of light and better understanding to these things, Pawan. And I feel that this is why the sun is here in the middle, even if it's reversed. Your life's work was actually to bring the darker side of life to light, or to bring a lot of light into the unexplained, into these darker corners that people feared or that felt like an unsolved mystery. So you brought a lot of light to things like mental illness, trauma, death, life after death, heavier forces and entities. Your job was to remove the taboo filter over these things. So you had a gift of being able to bring a lot of light to these things, Pawan. That was a past life that was concentrated around the discovery of your spirituality and of your gifts and the development of those gifts. So it was a deep dive into the occult. I definitely see that a lot of you who have chosen this path dedicated your life either to the study of that or to indulge in it, in the sense that some of you really went on the mediumship side of that, and others of you really went on a more scientific side of that. Something about that devil card, I really must say, kind of feels scary to me. And I rarely feel that with the devil. So I really feel that you have spent this past life combating that, combating what terrorized people inside of their home, inside of their private lives, inside of their own mind, people who had no resources other than you guys. That is why I had this mental picture of you sort of uncrossing or exorcising or banishing. Something along those lines was your life's mission and greatest accomplishment in this life, you guys. So your legacy was to make room for the sunlight to shine again into people's lives who were held hostage by those types of energies, to help bring a lot of healing and closure inside of their lives that have been affected in the lives of people that have been affected by these forces, basically. So you took this job very seriously, Pawan, because you really felt as though if I don't do that, then who will? So you took it as your own job to take care of wiping that negativity away from people's lives, and it became a very successful business, by the way, with this devil card. Your life's mission, you made a whole business around it, but this is very unselfish. Let me just mention it. With this kind of wisdom, I just feel that you were someone extremely humble and just very knowledgeable in the experiences that you had. And this is why in many cases you were people's very last resort. And I am hearing a phone ring in my mind right now. I feel that this is because maybe people try to reach you a lot. There was a lot of business around what you were doing. I feel that this was a time where a lot of people were curious or introduced to concepts like that. And that's why you had such an important job that left an impact on people's lives with the sun. The devil, he is on his very own mission, and it's to confront what is taboo, scary, and what people don't want to talk about or dare fight, even if it causes disruption or misunderstandings. The devil has an important job, because if he wasn't there, then nobody would ever question the structure or authority in place. Nobody will ever question their beliefs. And that's the devil's mission, to do that. Without an arch nemesis, without darkness, there can be no light. I also feel that in this past life, you allied with some very close and a very tight team of people that you could definitely rely on, lean on in your most difficult moments with this kind of the lovers. Like I have mentioned, I feel that you teamed up with a divine counterpart for sure. And this is so surreal, because I really felt as though this was a relationship where you guys decided to stick together through it. And your lives today, or this current incarnation, obviously, when you will retrieve each other, might feel extremely different. And that's normal, you guys. That's because you might have a complete completed a part of your mission probably in this past life, and now you might carry a very different task, or maybe not. Maybe some of you are still drawn to make your underground spiritual practice a lifestyle, and if so, then maybe that this is because that's the gift that I was speaking about that you carried over. It's like for a lot of you the job isn't done, and that could be why you are on this reading today. You are still a medium for spirit to run its work through you. Maybe in a very different degree now, but you are still. And like I've said, a lot of you have taken a deep interest into this stuff, and that's because that is what you did for a living in this past life of yours, and your past life self is coming through to sort of encourage you to tap into that again, not to seek the darkness, but to see the light through it and the way where you can better understand it. So it's as if your past self, Pawan, wants you to simply accept this gift that it is offering you, and that you can still tap into, because the fragmentations of that are your legacy from this past life that you came to change and make into your very own in this current life. So that is a mark that this past life has left on your soul and even on your frequency. So I hope that this reading could perhaps bring some answers to the way that certain things have been occurring in your life, Pawan, or explain a bit why you are the wonderful way that you are. Thank you so much for spending this time with me again. I hope that you stay in touch and that I will see you back on my channel soon again. It will be great to read your cards again, you guys. For those of you who are interested into checking out my private tarot reading services, the link to my online shop will be down below in the description bar. So if you're interested to take a look into that, it will be a pleasure for me to be working with you on one-on-one. And otherwise, we should see each other soon in another video, you guys. Bye, guys. Hello, part 2, and welcome to your reading about one of your past lives and how it made you the way that you are today. How this past life shaped you into the wonderful you that you are in this life. So to make things feel a little bit lighter for you today, I decided to divide this reading into 2 sections. So in a moment, I'm going to start with those 3 cards over there first, and that will sort of show me the general energies of who you were in this past life, or what this past life spoke about, what were your achievements and stuff like that. And then after that, I'm going to move on into revealing all of the other cards for you to get into more details all about that. So if you're ready, let's see what the first cards that fell in from my deck for you are. We have the 4 of Swords reversed. Will my camera focus? I'm not sure. Focus on that. Thank you. Then after that, we have the High Priestess reversed. So both of your cards are reversed. Okay. Finally, we have the Mask. Pile 2, how interesting. I feel like I have a mix of a lot of different people with very different energies who have chosen this pile somehow. The first thing that is coming to me here is about that kind of a mask and the High Priestess being also reversed. It's as if you live this sort of a double identity. It's like this game of hide and seek somehow, as though you were the hunted and not the hunter. But that's the thing, you were very good at playing your cards very well in a way that permitted you to keep your secret well kept, pile 2, or you're keeping your secret alive, basically. So I'm wondering what this could be. You could have been someone very secretive in this past life, or with something quite huge to hide. Or perhaps that this is because you had some life endeavors that you had to keep to yourself behind closed doors or away from prowling eyes. But don't worry, I'm not seeing anything bad here. For some of you, I feel that this was part of your identity. that you had to keep silence or to keep hidden, perhaps because the world was not ready for these sorts of things yet. And the one thing that comes to my mind here is your sexual orientation in this past life that may have been different for some of you guys. But this message is very specific, so I don't think that is meant for everybody that have chosen this path. That might just be for a portion of you that are on this reading today. But this is something that I'm hearing right now. Otherwise, maybe that you had some hidden fates because we have the High Priestess here. Maybe that just like the High Priestess, you were someone that sort of practiced their own religion behind closed curtains, or that educated themselves a lot, that were some sort of self-taught scholar. Ooh, okay, I'm getting somewhere here because I'm having some chills and I know that I'm going the right direction when I'm having those chills. Okay, I feel that some of you were very self-taught or secretly initiated into something, and that feels very mysterious. I don't necessarily mean by that you guys were involved into some sort of a Templar plotline. Well, maybe you were, that's the thing. Maybe you were involved in some sort of secret society for all I know. And if so, then I envy you because that seems like a very badass life. But otherwise, I feel that your energy, I feel that energy of some of you who are going to stumble on this reading as very well versed in the arts of morphing yourself to appealing to a specific group of people. And I feel that this is a talent that you had to build in this past life through having this sort of chameleon-like personality. It's this skill to be able to adapt very well, but you had to overcome some sort of first imposter syndrome in order to really claim this power, I feel. So what is interesting to me here is that I feel that this was a job for you. To change faces, to change outfits, to change identity, or to morph it a little bit. Either to extract information or to entertain a crowd with this card of the mask. Masks are not only a way to hide our true identity, but there is also something very theatrical to me about this tool, very artistic. So some of you could have been comedians or been working in a circus troupe, which is something that I'm hearing right now. And I know that these messages seem very inconcise and all over the place and random compared to usual. But that's because, like I've mentioned, I feel that I'm talking to a lot of people here who had very different past lives, but a very similar undertone to it right now. So that's why I want to make sure that I get out all of that information, and I'm picking up with those cards first, and then it might trace a story as I reveal your other cards later. But that's how I feel here. Some of you may have been extremely talented in the arts of spying, extracting or sharing information, or in the art of changing your appearance. Some of you could have been representatives for someone or some sort of business, like being somebody's right arm. I am even having the image of someone writing in a book right now. So maybe that some of you wrote a book in this past life or tended to a journal. Like I've mentioned, maybe that some of you were scholars. Because there is this element here of information and knowledge being kept as power for you in this past life. I feel that a lot of you were either extremely well educated or that you were extremely talented to the ways that you self-taught yourself to be able to do certain things that weren't very accessible to general public knowledge. And oh my God, I'm having a random flash right now. For some of you, this was a life that you had created for yourself and where you were introduced in this very new environment where not a lot of people like you had normally the access to. Because I'm saying that because I had a quick image of a woman dressing herself up as a man in order to have access to something, maybe like education, or maybe to have access to a certain social movement that was very exclusive for men, or maybe that this will resonate for a few of you guys. But yes, some of you were extremely good at your art in this life and live some sort of double-edged identity, which is interesting to me. It's like you have made a name out of yourself. There we go. That's how I feel. You have made your own name in this life. So some of you live from your art as well, is another thing that I'm receiving. Some of you may have been comedians, actors, performers, even writers. Some of you may have been involved into some sort of clanship, like a secret discipline that you were initiated to, or some sort of brotherhood that was difficult to infiltrate in, because I keep getting this image of a life that was very secluded from the rest of the world, a life that not a lot of people had, or that was difficult to have, like not everybody had access to that. So some of you could have also worked in politics, is another strong thing that I'm receiving with both this Four of Swords reverse and a High Priestess reverse and a mask. I don't know why I didn't see that sooner. So thievery is also coming. And I guess that I'm saying thievery because I feel that's because it's although to me as if you lived your life as a series of heists. To me, where you made really big money or seized very big opportunities by the balls. For others of you though, this double identity could have been lived through you intimately being involved with people that required you to fulfill this sort of role of being the advisor or information extractor, if you will. So this is all mysterious here. No matter what this is that you were doing, you were definitely good at it, Paltu. You were really good at making people believe in your magic, at shaping their perception of you, or at changing their minds. You were skillful at schemes, speech, negotiations. I don't mean by that you were necessarily a scam or a criminal or someone that took advantage of people. Really, I want you to use your intuition here and to bend this reading and what resonates for you. But at the same time, don't force it, all right? So what is meant to resonate will resonate. But it's just that you had a lot of charisma. And I see that your job was to be this artist of the scene, no matter what this translated as. So you played your cards very well or very strategically in this life. The person that you were was almost of a mystery, sometimes to people in general, that will come into contact with you because you did not simply give the key to your privacy to just anyone. Or you kind of, some of you may have kind of died with your secret recipe, if you know what I mean. Perhaps that some of you also had this lifestyle that was very hidden. And this could be another reason why I was saying that not a lot of people knew the real depths of who you were. They could only get to see what you wanted them to see. So you had a trust that was difficult to earn as well. And I feel that this is because of how you have managed your way on your own to evade some pretty extremely complex situations that kept you entrapped in the past. You were the Houdini of that, or a master at illusions. So for a lot of you, you were who you were was a job that you really needed to keep up with. So this is a very interesting life, and I feel that you have made some powerful alliances in this life as well, Paitu, and this is completely intuitive right now what I'm getting for you. You could have even had like a secret romance with somebody that was very powerful too. It's something that is coming up here. Another thing that is coming to me with this Four of Swords reverse is I'm seeing you live this life where it was very difficult for you to find true rest or to sleep with both eyes closed, if you see what I mean. So again, it's this sort of feeling of being the mouse chased by the cats that I'm feeling here. This underlying fear of being uncovered or seen for who you truly were, Paltu. Which is really weird. But let's get into more details now because I also want to see more about what these cards, how these cards tie in with the rest of your reading. So let's see what you got. We have the card of abundance. We have union. And we have gentleness. Okay. What else? We have the Queen of Wands reversed. Then we also have the Wheel of Fortune. And then finally we have the Ace of Wands reversed. I get my camera out of focus. It's been a pain in the ass today to do that. Okay, so that's a lot of power or influence that you have gained for yourself here. I see what this is more about into details now. I feel that in this past life, Baltu, you have pulled yourself out of nothing. You came from this very unprivileged background or from an upbringing that didn't encourage the success of people like you, and yet you have pierced through the roof that was above your head. Just like the High Priestess, who has been the first female Pope figure. You transform your limitations into opportunities for breakthroughs and to create your very own legend because you were a very influential character, let me just say, with this Queen of Wands reverse, and a very creative soul here. So you have won over a lot of people in this life. You have pulled a lot of attention towards you. You have made a lot of powerful or well-known friends. That's how I feel with this Queen of Wands reverse, this card of union and gentleness as well. With this card of gentleness, it's so weird because it's as if I just can see a wedding gown here. It's what is popping up of this picture to me. So I feel that for some of you, this is a person that you could have married and that you have charmed in your life that enable you to completely change life or gain power in a sense. But this is what I see with this Wheel of Fortune in the middle, is that you have changed your life 180 degrees from where it was heading into a completely new direction. So you are someone in his past life that took their destiny into control, that created their very own fortune and luck. That's why we have a card of abundance here and this Wheel of Fortune. And that's why we have the Ace of Wands and the Queen of Wands both being reversed. You reach your own sense of power and independence. That power was never handed to you. You had to make it your own from scratch without the help of anybody. And that's the thing. In order for this to happen, you really had to reverse the wheel or change the odds to be in your favor. The Queen of Wands is somebody that everybody could aspire to be. She is confident, she is powerful, majestic, very influential. But seeing her being reversed like that tells me that her energy wasn't granted for you. You had to transform into it, and it was this process of being the sort of butterfly that needed to crack open from the cocoon. So you had to face many challenges that tried to extinguish your power or sever you from your inspiration, Paltu. Many challenges that try to crush your sense of self-esteem and self-confidence. And seeing both of these cards being reversed also tells me that this was a life where you had to confront the giants, to go face to face with people who were a lot stronger, a lot more powerful, a lot more resourceful than you. So you were someone that was very self-taught, self-made, born from their own ashes, if you will. I find that incredible. Oh, and wait, I said something earlier about you being yourself, being this job that you had to keep up with. So that's a big feeling here. I feel like you pulled yourself in the big leagues because of how charismatic and ambitious you were with the Queen of Wands and the Ace of Wands reversed. So you were somebody that knew how to captivate people with your presence, which led you to mingle with powerful people or brought yourself to this very high pinnacle in your life. Some of you guys were definitely more in the artistic side of things right now that I see it with those other cards, where you gain a lot of popularity through the music that you were playing, through the paintings that you were making, through the acting, even something along those lines. Because with the Queen of Wands, I'm seeing many people gravitate around you, but not a lot of people had the privilege to know the real deep you. Besides perhaps your spouse with this card of union and gentleness. But with this Queen of Wands reversed, I see that you became an extremely influential character of your time because of the name that you had created for yourself that could have drawn in these crowds. But that's the thing, although you were surrounded, you almost felt very alone sometimes. Like you felt sometimes very alone in this job or in this role or in this task that you had to sort of carry. So just so you know, the Queen of Wands reverse doesn't cancel that our energy is still very present for your past life self. I personally interpret the reversals very differently than most readers. To me, reversals doesn't mean that the energy isn't necessarily negative or that it's not there. It simply means that the energy is acting out differently. So to me, seeing these cards as something that you have achieved in your life, that is significant. Your legacy was your influence, Paltu. It was the creative, artistic, or political influence that you have made that has participated in these very important changes in the modern world with this kind of the Wheel of Fortune. To me, this is very significant. With this Ace of Wands reverse, that's you with your talent that has offered that to the world. Normally, the aces are all about receiving, right? But seeing it reversed like that, this tells me that this was what you gave others. This is something that you had and that you have worked on gaining, and you offered it to the world, which brought inspiration to many, many people, and it breathed motivation into their lives. I feel that your mission in this life was really to reach a wider audience with your talents and skills, Paltu, and to inspire them. That's what I meant by you were the sort of artist of the scene. You held the power to make great changes, and maybe that you didn't have the time to accomplish everything that you had hoped to be able to do, but you stirred the pot here with this Wheel of Fortune for sure. This Wheel of Fortune is there because it indicates a shift or a really big movement or change that you participated in, whether that was a change in terms of the culture of the time, in terms of the policies of how people would start being treated differently, a social change, and maybe that you didn't necessarily make it into the history books or anything of the sort. Maybe some of you did, you know, maybe some of you did not, but I really see here that you were an influential figure of that age, that you were born into, because that is who the Queen of Wands is. She is an icon. Just by being her real self, she is someone that marks people, whether she is remembered or not. So many of you who have chosen this path became public figures or even some sort of maybe celebrities in the field that you were in, and that's because you were extremely skilled and talented with this Ace of Wands reverse, but also very innovative with this Wheel of Fortune. At the passion that you had, or this talent that you had, that you have taught yourself or that you have been initiated to, your mission in this past life was to create some form of innovation or reinvention, interestingly enough. So I also feel with this Wheel of Fortune that you had an extremely bright and promising future still ahead of you. But what I feel with those cards being reversed though, it's like this fame or this success is almost what brought you into a very sharp calm down. This success is also what also shot you in the foot somehow, because from what I'm seeing here, you never got to really taste the full extent of that potential that you had. By the time that you have left this earth, it's like this was too soon. It feels like a light bulb that smashed, or like this new flame into the world that died too soon. That is really something that hits me here very strongly for you, Paltu. So I feel that you were someone who had so much potential to express still, so much life to live, so much more success that was waiting for you and experiences to be acquired, and then in a flip of a second, you were usurped from this sort of throne that you were sitting on. experiencing a very sharp come down or fall from glory. But like I have mentioned, for some of you, you had a partner that was this very popular, influential character, and I feel that this could have weighted on your relationship together sometimes. I feel that many of you had your lives cut very short somehow. It's something that I really want to mention here. But you lived long enough to be able to put a stamp on your name though. It's like the only sort of analogy that I'm getting for you here is the Forever 27 Club, which if you don't know what that means, the 27 Club is the list of musicians that died at age 27. So artists like Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, gosh, I love the Doors, Amy Winehouse, gosh, I love Amy, and so many more. That's just a few examples I'm listing here. And I just want to make a parenthesis here because I know that this will sound funny, but 27 years old has always been this very mythical stage of my life that I have been looking forward to. And I don't know why. I'm 27, by the way, today. But before my birthday this year, I always looked at that age with so much mysticism. And I was telling myself, all right, if I am to die right now, at least I will have died like a rock star in a sense. But I guess that's because so many icons that I deeply love passed away at that age. But coming back on a more serious note here, I'm not saying that this past life was about you being one of those celebrities, you guys, but it feels almost like that to me. It feels that, like them, you have touched some form of power, some form of glory, influence, or success very young, but then this success was also double-edged. It was like a double-edged sword that was very brief. And that's why this Four of Swords is reversed for you, I feel. That's also why I sense this sort of secret lifestyle where it's like your life that was exposed to the public wasn't even near the struggles, the pains, or the depths of who you were as a person. So I feel that many of my pals too have died with many secrets. Or it's like the cause of your death could still be a subject of speculation, or could have been for a while after you have passed on. The cause of your death could have been a mystery that also hovered over your name for a while. It's like people realized that they didn't know you in a ways that they thought they did. You had this identity that was your public face, but then you had this other real you that stepped at the background of your life. And I feel that this caused a problem to you guys. When this persona started to eclipse the real you and take all of the room of your life, that's where it sort of became a cause of disturbance in your life. It caused a problem to your intimacy and privacy, and also became this sort of paranoia where it's like, I'm not sure who is on my side anymore. I don't know who holds my best interest at heart or who is here to take advantage of me anymore. So this life was very disruptive in terms of being able to seek your own private sense of peace, and in terms of knowing who was there for you and who was there to manipulate you, pal, too. I feel that it was very tiring for a lot of you to try to keep up with this sort of persona that you had created. Soon, your passion for life or your passion for this craft that you were doing started to leave place to a bit of bitterness, or something to fight psychologically a lot for you. It sort of created this pressure where it started to hold you back on living a sense of normalcy in your life. So like I have mentioned, this was a very, very unconventional life for a lot of you. This past life had you deal with a reality that was very secluded from normal, from what everybody else of your age or of your status was doing or was going through. So wanting that this life taught you the harsh way was to appreciate the person that you can be behind the mask that you needed to wear, pal, too. But that's the thing. I feel that for many of you, you didn't live to see or witness the extent of the change that you have created. It's like you never live to see the full results of what you had worked to achieve in this life. One thing for sure, you were someone in general that was very loved and appreciated with this card of union. And with this Queen of Wands as well. That's the thing that sort of breaks my heart for you about this past life pile too. I don't think that you were even aware of the extent of what you did and what it meant to the world back then. It's like the hate overpowered the love in your mind, because this work, that's the thing, it ignited a lot of hope for people and inspired them to relate to something through you in their own journey. Therefore, I feel that you were dearly missed when you passed away. So I hope that this reading could perhaps bring some answers or peace of mind to you, pal, too, or explain a little bit where you come from and what made you into the soul that you are today. Not the personality that you are, but your soul behind the mask that you are, beyond your ego. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope that you stay in touch and that I will see you back soon on my channel again. It will be great to read your cards again. For those of you who are interested into looking at my private tarot reading services, the link to my online store will be down below in the description bar so that you can check it out if that is something that you are interested in. And otherwise, we should see each other soon in another video. Bye, guys. Hello, pile 3. If you have been drawn to this pile, this is going to be a reading about your past life self and the general energies of your past life. So what you did, what your achievements were, and sort of who you were as a character. So to make things a bit lighter for you all, I decided to really separate this reading into 2 different sections. So I'm going to start over there with those 3 cards here, and that was sort of show me the general energies of your past life, sort of the broad general information about who you were and what you did in this life. And then after that, I'm going to reveal the rest of your cards over here to get into more details after that. So if you're ready, let's see what your first few cards are. So we have here the Queen of Cups. And then we have, look at that, another queen, the Queen of Coins. That is pretty cool. Okay, that's big stuff right there. So many things are, the King. What? Okay, so we have 2 queens and a king, you guys. Okay, so I feel like this reading will be special already. So pile 3, already, obviously, for the moment that I saw those 2 queens and on top of that, that king over there, I understood that no matter who you were in this past life, you were someone incredibly important, or someone whose work was incredibly important and very needed. So this could have been that you were a child born with great responsibilities, a big legacy to take on, and roles to take care of or keep up with. But I also feel that for the big majority of you guys, that's because of what you did or decided to do of your lifetime somehow that made you into this very important character, into this just and humble person with both this Queen of Cups and a Queen of Coins. But whatever you did, I really see here that it touched the lives of a lot of people, or it reached out wide to many people. So in your past life, you may have been a woman, you may have been a man. I'm not going to embark in that ride for various reasons, like you already know. I'm reading for way too much people here at the same time. And anyway, personally, I don't know what this changes, the gender between me and you guys. If you want me to be honest, can somebody just tell me why does that even matter? But oh well. But I'm reading energies here today, and I just want to concentrate on that because that is what is most relevant, in my opinion, at least. But I am seeing that No matter which gender you were someone living extremely close to their own inner divine feminine, pile 3. That Queen of Cups and Queen of Pentacles, or otherwise known as the Queen of Coins, both together to me is huge caretaker energy, huge healer energy, sort of Mother Teresa energy almost, I'm even going to say. I feel that you had the heart and the crown of a saint. In a matter of speech, let me just say that you had this very bright and beautiful aura around you. Maybe I can see it visually because I don't see you, but I see it with those two queens being upright. They both tell me that in this past life in particular that we are going to revisit together today, you were some sort of caretaker in your own genre. You were some sort of healer or medicine person. All queens in tarot are ruled by the Empress, and they each represent a different aspect of the Empress or of the divine feminine. And for when it comes to the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups coming together, that represents the merging of the element of earth, represented by the pentacle or the coin, and the element of water, represented by the cup. So while the Queen of Cups shows us how to be extremely sensitive and intuitive towards others in our environment, the Queen of Pentacles is the part of us that is really aiming to give and to protect. This is what I meant by you were a caretaker. You were a giver and a healer in this life. I'm also seeing the image of trees for you, pile 3, somehow. Maybe you live somewhere near the woods, or that you like to recollect yourself and your thoughts in the woods very often. But one thing for sure, I just feel that a lot of you were extremely close to animals and nature in general. Some of you may have had knowledge about the ancestral ways, even about ancient healing methods or plant medicine, for instance. And it's funny because I'm getting a lot of green thumb energy here and just knowing how animals feel or what is going on in the natural environment around you. I feel that you were really good at that in this past life. In your past life, pile 3, you had this beautiful ability to understand that every living being deserved the most beautiful treatment, existence, and care. I see that some of you have spent your life taking care of animals, maybe wounded animals. Some of you may have been nurses or really invested in charity work. Some of you may have dedicated this life to take care of people who are most vulnerable, like children, the elderly, the ill, the poor, people with disabilities. This life was pretty much lived outside of your own self. It was centered around what you could give more than what you could have, which I find extremely beautiful. Your goal was to give everyone and every breathing, living being a fair chance at life and at love. And one thing that I feel so strongly here is that this was definitely, clearly a life of service for you, pile 3. No matter how being of service for you translated as. That is a life where you didn't really live much for yourself, but rather lived a life where you had these really, really big shoes to fill, where a lot was expected of you, or where a lot of people relied or depended on you. See, that's the thing. Many people think that kings and queens are very self-serving, but the essence of this job, if you look at the origins of it, is probably the whole complete opposite of that. Because queens and kings, they have an entire kingdom to answer to and to take care of. So it's pretty much about everything but themselves. Some think of kings and queens as the ultimate expression of the ego, but yet the great queens and kings of mythology often serve from this very egoless place. They took the throne with grace and humility, accepting the divine to use them as a channel to take care of a piece of land and its people. And especially for when it comes to the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles, these are queens in tarot that are probably serving from the most selfless of place, because to them it's all about balancing the scales and about being of service to the biggest amount of people possible. It's about mothering what needs to be done. It's about being the sustainer of life, because that is what water and earth coming together does, right? When you water the earth, life starts to happen. It starts to grow. That was your energy in this past life, path 3. So you were someone that tended to the earth and to others. I feel that in this past life, you had developed a lot of your empathic skills that could still be existing in you today. Your ability to recognize the emotions of others and their human needs, those strong empathic abilities that you had and that you most likely have carried over into this life, by the way, they served you to better understand many perspectives to situations that others around you overlooked or didn't really pay attention to. So you saw a lot of details that most people were missing or not even caring enough. So you decided to take these matters into your own hands. You saw this problem and you decided to create a solution for it. You decided to use your empathic insight to improve people's lives and support them through challenging situations. So your past self wants you to know that in the past, a lot of people relied on you, depended on you, or looked up to you to take care of this task. And it was a very big role that consumed a lot of your time. There was this very big job to complete, or again, these very big shoes for you to fill. I just feel that you probably used everything that was in your own power to really help the lives of a lot of people. People who had it a lot less fortunate than you, or people that you could really empathize with. That's why the sort of energy that I'm seeing that you have carried over from that past life into your current one that you are living is this sort of habit to feel extremely responsible about others and for others. Path 3. You are probably someone that has a tendency to want to do everything for those you love to a fault sometimes. And that's because in this past life, it's as if you didn't have much room for mistakes. Kind of like a doctor or a surgeon hasn't a lot of room for mistakes, or in a way that kings and queens could not make mistakes back then, if you get the picture that I mean. So you're probably someone that takes their job extremely seriously if you know that some people depend on it. You are probably someone that takes their role extremely seriously if you are a parent, or in this position where a lot of people are being led by you. You are someone extremely compromising, but sometimes to a fault, as I see it here. And if so, then this is a confirmation that you have definitely chosen the right path, because in this past life, I see that you utterly felt responsible for those people too. And when I say responsible for others, this could be again in this role of being the healer, caretaker, or the giver of your community. Maybe you were the head or the heir of your family. This could have been a sort of business that you owned as well. I just feel the pressure around my shoulders. There is this feeling here of wanting to carry the world upon your shoulders, or of wanting to be the solution for this very, very big problem that you saw in and you almost breaking your back for it. So enough said for now, because let's get into more details. I'm really curious to see what this could be all about. So let's see what your auto cards are. We have here the card of intention. So some of you may have definitely worked with some sort of, doing some sort of medicine or something of the sort. I don't know why this card makes me think of a healer, of an alchemist of some sort. Then we have listening. And we have change. Okay. Then we have the card of justice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, death. Finally, that's the alchemist, you guys. The alchemist reversed. I'm dying right now. I'm so fucking done with you. No, I'm just joking. But I really love this card. In a traditional deck, it's not the Alchemist, it's Temperance. But I always consider Temperance to be an alchemist in some sort. Oh, I'm messing up with my beautiful background right now. Before I say anything else, let me just start by the fact that I feel that this was a time of very big revolution or societal upheaval. Whenever this past life occurred for you, Pile 3, if you have felt drawn to history, then that's another sign for sure. Things like French Revolution, the American Revolution, hell, the Mexican Revolution, things like the Black Plague or the women's rights movement, the civil rights movement. I feel that this is my pile of humanitarians and environmentalist somehow. You were someone that was very both feet in their purpose very early on. And even throughout the entirety of this past life, you were born with this intuitive knowledge that there was something that you were meant to accomplish, Pile 3. And this is a mission that escalated and became a lot bigger than you. Because that's the thing, our purpose here on earth is never about anything that we want. Usually it's actually about what we have and that we can give to the world. Exactly sort of like I have explained about the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles. This is a lifestyle of being of service. And you knew that early on because you had always been tapped into some sort of strong empathic abilities. So like I have said, this incarnation was very much about others and not so much about you. You have put your own self or your own life on the line here with this death card in suspension or on pause just because you saw some pretty big injustices in this world. This was a life where you have been the witness to some huge imbalances, Pile 3. With this card of Justice and Alchemist reverse, or where you saw a system that prioritized the more privileged, since the Justice here is upright. So you saw many flaws to certain rules, and because the faith of so many people fell off the lines of this sort of system that was implemented at the time, or fell on the other side of the scale of what was going on in the world back then, you decided to become that sort of justice figure that those people really needed at the time, that the world needed, or that you needed in that life. So some of you may have definitely become some sort of activist or someone that was literally at the front, maybe as a frontline healer, like a nurse or a doctor. I'm just looking at my little soldier over here that was in the pictures of your pal as well. Some of you may have tended to the dying, sort of like a death doula with this card of death and of listening as well. You perhaps became some sort of therapist with this kind of listening. For others of you, you have seen and witnessed a lot of death in this life, too much death throughout this entire life. And that's why you decided to take on this side of life and to become this agent of peace. You decided to become the one that would tend to the dirt and cultivate something new from all that had been dying around you, to cultivate the new world into being. Without the shadow of a doubt, I feel that this was a time where the world was changing very rapidly. It was a time of great revolution, and this world ravaged by corruption, death, misery. That's where your biggest purpose drew itself out and emerged from, and you decided to become the alchemist of it with this alchemist reverse, and to be extremely hands-on in participating to the change. This card over here. An alchemist, for those of you who don't know what that is, these were people told to be able to change metal into pure solid gold. So I see it as a metaphor for you guys, in the sense that this was a life where you turn what was dead, what was empty, dry, and lifeless into gold, into an opportunity for you to be able to provide value and healing to those who fell on the bottom of the scale of things, with this alchemist reverse and this card of justice here. That's so funny, you guys. That's so funny because I've told you that you guys were healers and caretakers in this life. And guess what? The alchemist in this deck replaces Temperance, like I've mentioned in traditional tarot. And Temperance is an archangel. Temperance, it is a healer and a light worker. But Temperance is also about purpose. So you are someone that was sort of this earth angel in this past life, if you will, that brought a lot of healing into the darkness or the void. This emptiness that people felt as a result from their life being wiped away. Because that is the feeling that death can certainly bring, by the way. Sometimes it can feel like our whole world has been left behind. Painful, painful realization. Right? Most of us don't even come to learn the value of what we truly have or of what we have created until the very end, until it gets ripped away from our own hands. You are someone that helped a lot of people recover and recuperate from their major losses with this card of death, for sure. That helped bringing a lot of closure to the outcome of events. And that's why I just felt somehow so strongly that what you had done was very important work. And I stand by that so firmly now because you were one of those rare alchemists in this world. And if you guys know some of the legends around alchemists, these were people who were mythical. They were sought out very much because being an alchemist was an endangered thing. It was pretty much unheard of. It was very much a very well-kept secret discipline that was only passed down from initiate to initiate for people that were chosen for this kind of job. So this role that you had fed into your sense of identity a lot in this past life, pile 3, because you felt very important and needed, just like an alchemist. And that's why we also have here the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles and the King. So what this alchemist card is also saying to me is that most likely you were one of the very few people that had a solution to the issue that you were working on, or the correct formula or correct recipe, or to the very least you felt like that. Because to me, Temperance, which is in this deck is represented by the alchemist, I always considered her to be a potion maker, kind of like what I saw with this image of intention. I always considered her to be a mixologist of some sort, and I'm not only talking here about margaritas and pina coladas, you guys. But she represents basically the coming together of different elements, basically in order to form a more cohesive or harmonious whole. So this was a job of a lifetime for you in so many different areas of your life, with this card being reversed. Pile 3. For you, it was very difficult to rest, to find peace, to push aside this role that you had to fulfill, and chances are that other parts of your life also suffered because of that. I just want to be honest. Maybe that your health suffered from it, or that your relationships even took a big hit because of it, because there's just so much that you could handle all at once, right? So you had no chance but to neglect other parts of your life since your hands were already full of something else. The job of a Queen of Cups and Queen of Pentacles is extremely modest and humble. It's often not so much of a luxurious job. If I know that these are queens, but this is not so much of a luxurious job. That's the thing, because it is very demanding since it's all about giving. Kind of like motherhood or fatherhood, right? It's the only example that I'm able to find for you here. Some people think out there that our life purpose need to be on a world scene, on some sort of a world scale in order to be significant. But let me tell you guys that sometimes the most modest and humble job can be extremely important, needed, and life-changing to some people. For some people, their life purpose is to be a worldwide activist, and for others, it's to raise their own children in the best way possible. And there isn't one job that is more or less significant than another, more or less needed. I don't know why, but I really felt the need to remember this to you guys. if this is something of a concern sometimes in your own life, and if you are looking at this past life with this sort of reaction of like, oh wow, I did that, how could I compete with that? Am I regressing now? No, you are not. But divine plans, they change, they morph, they transform. And often that's because it aligns with the landscape of the lessons that we are meant to undergo. So I see here that you have the soul of a healer, undeniably. And just know that healing can happen in so many different ways. Some people fulfill their purpose of being a healer through being a nurse. Others fulfill it through taking care of children and of doing their possible. Others live it through being a hairdresser. Yes, I mean, hairdresser, being a makeup artist and stuff like that. To me, that sort of belongs to the healing group in a sense, and of an extension of it, because you're still taking care of people, you guys. You're taking care of their mental sanity. You're taking care of their amount of self-confidence. You are teaching them how to take better care of their body. And then there are other people who, like me, live through their healing purpose through reading cards like that. So there is no right or wrong answers, you guys. There is just yours. So coming back to what I was saying, I feel that this was a life where you provided a lot of healing, but which in return also left your soul very much in need of healing and exchange sometimes with this alchemist card being reversed, because you have to understand that this was a pretty hard job, being the alchemist 24/7. Being the alchemist, or the figure of justice in your community, or this role that you were in, felt pretty exhausting for you sometimes, because it was this feeling of, well, where is my healing at? You know, who is going to look out for me while I look out for all of these people? So pile 3, it's as if the mental image that I'm almost having here with your pal is this one of a plague doctor somehow, or just this leader where a lot of people expected of you to be able to be the solution, or to make this big magic happen, or this big alchemy happen. With the alchemist reverse, you were probably the head healer or caretaker of your community, no matter if this community was your tribe, your village, your city, your country. But that's the thing, is that you were just this human being by the end of the day that needed your own needs to be met too. It's like this big feeling of being the one responsible to make things happen, or this feeling of being people's last resort that I'm having about this past life, at the price of sometimes sacrificing your own health, your own freedom, your own well-being, with the alchemist reversed again. So that is a lot of catching up that you're making in this current life that you're living, because I feel that although you live this pretty purposeful and needed life, it also took you out of learning your lessons having to do with being able to replenish your own cup. It's like in this past life, you never had the time or chance to even do that, to ever take a break. It's like you were really into this feeling of, it's all on me now, and I need to make that happen, to change this metal into gold, because otherwise a lot of people will be affected by my failure, or a lot of people will be penalized if I don't succeed. So it was this very hard and heavy situation to cope with. That's the thing that I see here, that in this past life, you felt like it was very well necessary to self-neglect because of everything that was happening in the world around you, pile 3. But chances are, and that's the sort of message I'm receiving from your past self, is that you could still be holding on to the leftovers of that energy still today, where, like I have said, you may feel sometimes as if you aren't there, then things won't happen, or at least they won't work out in the ways that they are supposed to. So that's a lot of surrender here that I'm seeing you learn through this process, and that is an energy that you have carried over with this death card. Surrender over what you cannot change and could not control. Just like death is this thing that is going to happen, right? Regardless of how much we try to hide from it, ignore it, despite how much we try to not look at it, it is going to happen. And that was a huge fear that you had to traverse and go head to head with this life. Death. And when I mean death, I mean surrender. I also mean grief and acceptance. Those are huge, 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 difficult and painful lessons to go through. And chances are that some of you are still working through this sort of karmic energy even still today, where now life is trying to push you away from this need to feel responsible for everything that is going on with people and with the world that is overwhelming you. Where now it's more about taking this vacation to your soul and learning to live for yourself a little more. Empathy is a gift. It's a huge spiritual gift. But you know what? All gifts need to be nurtured. And you guys are coming there, I think. My pal threes are coming to this point where you are realizing how important it is to show up to yourself first so that you can better show up for the world in return, and in order to live up to your responsibilities in the best of your capacities. And let me just say that you guys are doing an incredible job. You are doing an amazing job, you guys. So it's just a matter of not putting too much on your plate all at once, and of really taking it easier on yourself. So I really hope that this reading could perhaps bring some answers or peace of mind to you, pal 3, or explain a bit where you come from and what made you into the soul that you are. Not the personality that you have, but the soul behind all of that. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope that you will stay in touch and that I will see you back soon on my channel again. It will be great to read your cards again. For those of you who are interested into looking at my private tarot reading services, the link to my online shop will be down below in the description bar so that you can check it out if that is something that you are interested in. And otherwise, we should see each other soon in another video, you guys. Bye bye, everyone. Hello and welcome, pile 4. To those of you who have chosen this pile, this will be your reading about your past life, where we're going to explore who you were and what you have done, sort of your accomplishments, what you have carried, maybe the energy that you have carried over into your current present incarnation. So to make things feel a little lighter for you, I decided to divide this reading into 2 different sections. So I'm going to start over here with those 3 cards over there, and that will sort of show me the general energies of the person that you were, basically, and the sort of what marks you in this past life. And after that, I'm going to move over and reveal all of the other cards and get into more details of that for you. And we're going to try to dress a picture of the life that you lived, basically, in one of your past lives. So if you're ready, let's see what your first few cards are. We have for you the Wanderer, otherwise known as the Fool, in a traditional tarot deck. Then we have the Six of Cups reversed. And then we have the Sustainer. So pile 4, I will come back more deeply to this Wanderer card over here, but there is something about that Six of Cups reverse right next to this card that is really... I needed to get this out of the way first, because normally the Six of Cups, when it is upright, and I'm reading the cards intuitively here, you guys, but just so you know, the traditional meaning of this card upright speaks of reminiscence. It speaks of looking back at the past and feeling like, damn, life was so good back then, or life was so much better before, life was so much better when it was X, Y, Z, but seeing it coming up reverse for you, especially next to this wanderer here, tells me otherwise. It is actually telling me that this was a life where you actually had a lot of reasons to flee your past or want to abandon your past behind. This was a life where you chased your future, in a sense, because it was difficult to envision it after what had happened, no matter what this is. And this is so weird, you guys, because I'm sensing the energy of a child here by my side. I don't know what this is supposed to mean. Maybe that you didn't live long, maybe that this was a child that you had but then have gotten separated from at some point. Maybe that you have lost a child, or that you have lost your own childhood. Because I have to explain to you so that you understand the energies of your reading a little bit better, but the Fool, which in this deck is represented by the Wanderer, normally is considered the child of Tarot. It represents the beginning and this sort of new adventure of a lifetime. It represents this phase of our life where we feel sort of newly born and thrown into this brand new environment where we get to learn how life works over there, just in general. And we can feel like a fool at 16 years old. You know, we can feel like a fool at 30 years old, 45 years old, 60 years old. It doesn't matter. We will all come across a fool moment regularly from time to time in our life. But a fool is kind of like, for a lack of a better comparison, it's kind of if you were launched with a spaceship over on Mars, all right? Elon Musk is your best buddy and brings you there, let's say. And he's got your arms around your back. Gosh, that sounded creepy. But follow me around here. So over there on Mars, it will feel like a brand new world where you don't know what the hell is going on, because there is simply so many new things to learn over there. There is a whole new gravity to calculate. There is a whole new atmosphere to understand. And if you happen to come across those some little Martians, then there is a whole new language and culture to learn. So this is a full moment, you guys. I don't know if some of you have watched the 1999 movie, My Favorite Martian, with Christopher Lloyd, but that is a big movie of my childhood, you guys, and I just watched it like 2 weeks ago with my roommate. So that's funny because that Wanderer card sort of made me think of that movie, and that's such an Aquarius thing to say from now when I think about it. But then moving on here, we also have the Six of Cups reversed for you, which speaks of the past. It speaks of reminiscing, but sometimes it can also speak of childhood, you guys. So we have two cards here that are sort of children themed, sort of. So this is why I sort of felt this presence of a child. But this lets me know that most likely something happened in your past, in this past life. That's the thing that most of you had to go through during childhood, and it sort of froze you in the past, for lack of a better word. You have never been the same since that event, and the sort of mental picture that I'm getting here with the Sustainer card is somebody, perhaps someone that was close to you in this past life, like a parent or something, trying to protect you from it or keep you away from it. Or this sort of person or influence that wanted to keep your heart, your energy, your psyche from being tainted from that experience or from what you have witnessed as a child. It's as if I'm seeing a protector in your life with this card, Pile 4, that if they could have removed the pain that you felt, if they could have been able to remove it, they would have done it. If they could have protected you from having to live what you had to go through, they would have taken your place. They would have almost sacrificed themselves for you, in a sense. And I don't know yet what this could be speaking of. Maybe that we will see it in the other cards up here, but it could be in the metaphorical sense or in the literal sense. For some of you guys, this could have been someone in your life that tried to protect you from your past. But then I just want to mention here that for another person of you, this could have been a child that you have tried to protect from someone or from something. This is still another really big hypothesis that I am feeling here. So try to keep this in mind for when I'm going to flip those other cards. But yeah, I feel most of you had some sort of past to flee or a past to forget, which launched you on this entire new big quest towards finding yourself again, finding a sense of home, finding a sense of identity and of happiness elsewhere. Or it's like you had to begin at life all over again after that event. You were someone whose past kept following around, pal, for no matter where you were, where you would try to go, where you would run to, who you will try to mingle with, no matter how much you could have tried to drink it away or try to forget about it and not look at it, your past was like this ghost that kept hovering on top of you. And that's because no matter how hard we try, we cannot really escape our own self. That's the thing. We can try to numb ourselves away. Some people do it, you know. We numb ourselves in things like sex, substances, games, Netflix, social media, work even. For you, Balfour, though, this past life was really about fleeing as far as you could and escaping with this card of the Wanderer. So it's very bizarre because normally a wanderer moment, to me, a full moment is supposed to be positive and exciting. Mainly, it is quite anxiety driven too, you know, I'll give you that. But normally it's a brand new experience in a brand new world, which feels limitless in possibility. But for you guys, it's as if being this wanderer, being this adventurer was a way to distract you from your past. And there could have been positive moments out of being this wanderer, but there was also a lot of pain and dark undertone attached to that. It was a way to forget, a way to numb yourself out. Escapism, if you will. Some of you guys were hiding from your past hard, from having to confront it, from having to assess it, from having to try to understand any of it. You have tried to move from it, and you did. Physically, you did take your distances with it physically is what I see, but not emotionally, not spiritually. I don't know why, but I feel a lot of pain associated from this past for you. Perhaps because we have the sustainer here that gives me this impression of you holding on to yourself or rocking yourself to sleep almost. My gosh. But moving on to this Wanderer card here. This was a life where I see you move a lot, Pal 4. This was a life where maybe you traveled a lot and was always on the go, maybe from place to place, town to town, city to city, country to country even. Some of you could have changed jobs a lot. Some of you, it's that you have been looking to find yourself for a very long time in this past life, because it's like this past made you lose track of who you were as an individual for a while. So it's like you had to reconnect with that. So you took the road. You took a boat, you took the next plane ticket, or you took your horse and left with barely anything with you. You went to seek far and wide for a sense of future, for a sense of belonging and of identity. So your life, this was a life that was very up in the air, and I don't feel that this is because you consciously chose it to be in this way necessarily, but I feel that this was the result of you having troubles finding some sort of anchor or structure, finding some sense of rooting, a sense of security and safety even, kind of like a lost child. So some of you may have become orphans. Some of you may have had to flee your country at a very young age. It's like this song from Dion. Well, I'm the type of guy who never settles down. Where pretty girls are, well, you know that I'm around. That's a funny song, I really like it. But it's like in this song though, it's like the soundscape of your life was this song, where you became this very non-attached, very adventurous, but curious character, because you felt as though if I'm not attached, then nothing can break me or hurt me again. If I'm not attached, then my heart won't be broken again. I'm just receiving now. that for some of you in this past life, you may have had to change your entire identity even. And something that I've just heard right now is your name. Some of you had to change your name. What the hell is that? I feel like your past kept you late for life, or it sort of kept you away for a while from living any sense of normal, from settling down or just finding peace. It's like it traumatized the child that you were, in a sense. This was a past life where you really tried to lose yourself so that hopefully you could be able to find yourself again. But let's get into more details now, because I want to know what this is all about. So the next cards that we have for you, pile 4, is Guardian Angel. Look at that. Then we have Ancestors. Then we have Protection. Yeah, I feel that a lot of you guys had this protection from your ancestors, from a family member. Like I've mentioned with this card of the Sustainer, this is a very big theme of protection here. We have the Hangman. It's a 5 of Wands reversed. And we have the Hermit. So this was a very difficult and dark past with the Hangman. Okay, the energies here feel extremely heavy to me, more than what I had expected. I'm feeling violence, fear, like I want to crawl on my bed. I also feel some sensitivity around my neck and my wrists. So I don't know if some of you who have chosen this pile can sometimes wear anything that is too tight around those areas. I'm going to keep the picture of my grandfather here on the side of this reading for you guys, because I want his presence to guide me through what I'm going to say, because this sounds a bit touchy. And this is something that I think he would understand. So basically, for those of you who don't know, my grandfather was basically a Polish survivor of World War II, by the way. And so my grandfather, he fled during the war to France, and after that to Canada. And he was just 14 years old when the war started in Poland. So the army went to look for him to join. And my grandmother decided to hide him, and later hide in the sewers with him when the carnage started happening at his town. And when they started taking the rest of the family to the camps. So my grandfather wasn't a Jew, but he was Catholic, and he came from this very poor background, a very unprivileged background. Let's just say that he was definitely not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And my grandfather was an amazing, sweet, caring, and soft Taurus man. It's funny because my grandmother definitely wore the pants compared to him, if you get the picture. But one of the greatest memory that I have from him, and I have many, but it's when he actually taught me how to pray when I was just a child. Imię Ojca i Syna i Ducha Świętego. Amen. If I can recall correctly, that is the sign of the cross. And what I find to be so inspiring in my spiritual journey about him is that his faith was his ultimate weapon. It was the only thing he could hold on to that the Nazis would never be able to take away from him. And I feel that he influenced me and my spirituality tremendously, because I was only 4 years old and I already believed that there was something more out there. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you this brief story because I feel his presence almost in your card somehow, and maybe that I will speak of him again in the future if the topic arises, but I felt the need to tell you about him because I feel that this past life could have been similar, in a sense that there is a similar undertone here, and it immediately made me think of him, and I wanted to bring him in for you guys. And if this story sort of resonated a chord with you, then maybe that's because you had a similar past life in a way. But what was I saying, pal? For in this past life, it's as if you had to lose yourself so that you would be able to retrieve yourself again. This is who the wanderer is, and this is who the hermit is, but on a very different degree. That is so crazy that both the hermit and wanderer came out for you in this reading, powerful, because the wanderer, he is a physical traveler, but the hermit, he is a spiritual traveler. He travels inwardly into deep, deep stages of consciousness. And that tells me that this life was a really big roller coaster that led you deeper and deeper into the discovery of your own self. And I just want you to know, Palfor, that if there are those people around you who have told you before, maybe when you were a child or something, that you had an incredible amount of wisdom for your years, then that's because many understandings and profound discoveries came to you from this past life, is what I see. This past life has this huge battle of the self right at the center of it that you had to go through. No matter how chaotic your surroundings were with this Five of Wands reverse, that's why you had to lose it for a while. In order for the hermit to really come to understand himself and what has happened to him, he needs to go in this very private journey on his own, because nobody will be able to understand what it means to live in his mind and to be in his own shoes. But in fact, all that the hermit seeks is a deeper sense of peace. After he looked for this deeper sense of peace everywhere in his life, everywhere in the world around him, and everything outside of him, the hermit came to the understanding that he had to leave his whole life behind and give it all up. The world he had spent so much time to build. And that's because self-discovery starts with knowing everything that you are not. And then it continues with setting the intent to find your true self, knowing that you will have to look inward for that through a new state of consciousness, as none of those answers will ever be found outside of yourself, Palfor. But in self-discovery, normally it finishes with dropping the past, right? And I feel that this is exactly what you didn't have the time to do in this past life, Palfor, dropping your past. With this hangman over here, this was a past where a lot of suffering took place for you and a lot of traumatic events. The hangman is hanging on that cross and he's waiting for death to take him. That's why he is number 12, and the card that follows him is number 13, which is the death card. From what I'm seeing here, this was a life that you had to carry your own cross, Palfor, with this hangman, the Five of Wands reverse, and this hermit. So this is crazy because personally, I'm not a Christian. I am into chaos witchcraft, by the way, you guys, but that makes me think of Jesus and his journey through the desert, like the hermit going towards this journey towards some sort of Christ-like consciousness, because that's what the hermit represents as well. But then with the hangman, it's like you had to carry your own cross first. So I'm having flashes here. Definitely, for some of you guys, this was a time of very big conflict in the world that you lived in. And I think that I said that earlier, but some of you definitely had to flee your country at a very young age. Some of you may have been children of war. Some of you may have trigger alert, but some of you may have witnessed some sort of genocide or have been one of the few last survivors of your clan, no matter if this clan was your family, your culture, your race. Some of you who have chosen this path also went through terrible, horrible abuse and cruelty in this past life. I feel that this experience ignited a lot of spiritual curiosity in a lot of you. And if you have always been drawn to things like self-introspection, meditation, self-love work, shadow work, spirituality, I feel that this is because most likely this past self had to hold on to that at a certain point to find anchor in what you had to go through, to find understanding where there wasn't any logical explanation for what was going on. But that's the thing, right? There are some horrible, horrible tragedies that happen around this world constantly, and some that shape history. And sometimes people think that they can't find healing unless they get a sense of closure. And for this closure to happen, they think that they need the other party to feel sorry about what they have done, or to at least get an understanding as to why. But some tragedies happen and there is no reason why. That's the collective madness of it, right? And that's something that I say very often, but because something happened and there was no valid reason for it, doesn't mean that it can't still hold meaning. That there isn't any meaning to draw from there nonetheless. And that's something that spirituality can sometimes provide to a lot of people, like my grandfather and this past version of you, Pal 4. And I feel like this is half enough. For some of you guys, this cruelty was lived on a more personal level. Like you could have had a parent that abused you or that was violent towards you, for instance, with this 5 of Wands. You could have also been falsely accused or convicted with this Hangman for something that you didn't do, or in a way where you didn't deserve the punishment that you have gotten. But then for others of you, I feel that this was almost sort of happening on a world scale for you, beyond your control for sure. Like I have mentioned, this could have been your country or your city that was going through some form of crisis, rebellion, or even war. That's right, because we have the 5 of Wands here, and the 5 of Wands is a card of battle, and it is often associated with competition too. It's the card of whatever I need to do to be the one that comes out of this, the winner. Whatever I need to do to survive and keep my dignity. It's a card that speaks of fighting for what you believe in. For some of you, this battle could have translated into you being on the other spectrum, though, of you or your group being the one targeted, being the oppressed, the victims, and the martyrs, because we have the Hangman here. So there is a word here that keeps coming to me strongly about your Pal 4, and it's the word survivor. I feel that this word was literally the soundscape of your life in this past life, no matter if you have been the survivor of a violent abuse as a child, and that a parent maybe failed to protect you with the sustainer, no matter if this was a genocide happening on the world scene, that you and your ancestors had to hide from or run away from. It doesn't really matter in a sense. I feel that there isn't too big or too small of a trauma. A trauma is just a scar from a psyche that has been profoundly disturbed and wounded, and that never recovered from it. So it seems like the big majority of you guys, I don't want to discourage you here, but it seems like the majority of you won't have only your individual traumas from this current incarnation to deal with, but there's also the specter of some of the traumas of this past life that you could still be carrying over into your current life. But that's the thing with the Hangman. You're someone that is carrying their own cross, just like him. The Hangman had to be stripped from his titles, from his dignity. He had to hang upside down on that cross, suffer, and get this death sentence in order for things to finally start to make sense on a deeper level. Because That is why he is hanging in this position, that he starts to see life in a way he had never thought of before. So that was the meaning behind all of the hardship, austerity, and cruelty that you had to go through in this life path for. It was to bring you to see things completely differently, in a way that the rest of the world was oblivious to, in a way that most people never had access to. It was a spiritual journey, first and foremost. And that's the thing. I don't think that your past self had the time to even realize that. Your past self may have thought that this was a very physical journey towards starting a new life elsewhere, or find some form of order, sanity, and normalcy elsewhere, but it was in fact a spiritual journey, and it was all a matter of extracting meaning behind those experiences and sharing your voice. Pile 4. Sharing your voice about what had happened. If some of you have gone through other traumatic events, even in this life, then you bring a lot of closure and healing to this past version of yourself by speaking about it and raising awareness about it. It's so weird because I have mentioned that you guys were guarded or protected by some force. It could have been a sibling, a parent, a friend, a partner, but for a lot of you guys, you were protected by a higher power. With this card of the sustainer and protection and guardian angel, you were protected by the army of ancestors that had walked the same path before you with this card of ancestors. If there was really a God out there, then he didn't abandon you. You may have felt like the higher power had forgotten about you at a certain point where you were hanging on that cross, but you ended up experiencing it later with this hermit for sure. You know those stories where people say something like, I was down on my knees and ready to give up entirely when finally I saw God, in a sense. That's the energy of the hangman. And that's how he could reach some form of illumination through what he was going through. So that was you in that past life. You saw the devil, but you also saw God. No matter if you were a Christian or not, it's just a figure of speech. You have been through your own hell in this life and you came back resurrected. This is what I meant by this was a Christ-like journey. This was like the same journey that Jesus went through in a sense. It was just disguised differently for you guys. But this life was an entry towards a new era, a new chapter of your soul journey. Let me just say that, because the spirit is on its journey through this specific incarnation, right? But the soul is on an entire other journey. The soul is not just concerned with this individual life and incarnation, but also takes into account all other lives, past, present, and future. And from what I'm seeing here, this life was the marker for you to enter a new era of your ascension. I didn't know if it was going to be a useful thing for me to say, and I wasn't sure if I was going to say it, but I feel that this might as well be one of your last few incarnations here on earth for a lot of you, the majority of you who have chosen this path. That or soon you will come back here as a helper more than someone in need of healing. And it's not to say that we need pain in order to evolve as a soul necessarily, but pain is surely one of the most powerful catalysts towards rapid growth, because growth can only occur when we are presented with a choice to look beyond what is happening to us and to reach into a deeper understanding of the meanings behind it. But in order to go there, we sometimes need that trigger or that entry point that is going to sort of push us there. And that's what our traumas can serve as. They can serve as doorway towards finding enlightenment. So I hope that this reading could perhaps bring some answers or peace of mind to you, Pile 4, or explain a bit where you come from and what made you into the incredible soul that you are. Not the personality that you have, but the soul behind all of that. I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I hope that you will stay in touch and that I will see you back on my channel soon again. It will be great to read your cards again. Well, for those of you who are interested in looking into my private tarot reading services, the link to my online store will be down below in the description bar if you are curious to check it out and if that is something that you are interested in. And otherwise, we should see each other soon again in another video. Bye, you guys.